So in this screencast, I want to talk about configuration. And yeah, we already talked about that a lot, and it is more or less everything about configuration. But what I have in mind are things like here in the article manager, these option icons. So if you click on this option icon, you get a lot of options and possibilities to configure your content items. And this is available in the article manager, in the categories, in the modules, more or less everywhere. So for example, here in the contact component, there's also an option field and you can configure something. And I don't want to go into details here in these configuration things because usually it is quite well documented when you move or when you hover with the mouse. Here you see this little red box and it says you usually what you need to know, and then you have to try. But there is one configuration which is valid for the whole website, and this is well quite interesting. So let's say we start here with the site, and as we installed the site, we said the name is Joomla 2.5. And here, for example, you can change that site name. Or you can put your site offline and you can say, okay, if the site is offline, I want to have this custom message, or I take the default message, these kind of configurations. In 2.5, there is a feature that you now can point to an offline image. So if your site is offline, you can apply a message and you can say, well, this is the image people should see. And you can say, okay, this is the default editor, this is the default capture, and all these kind of things. So here you can say, okay, I want to use reCAPTCHA, for example. It is available in the core. It's this Google capture system, but you see there are also possibilities to have more captchas. And yeah, here is a new one. In the meta settings, there is a new field called content rights. You can fill out something here. You can decide whether you want to show the Joomla version or not. And here I think is one of the most interesting things. It is about URL rewriting. And this I want to mention a little bit deeper because it says, I hope you can read it. No. Let's do it like this. Yeah. It's not easy. Okay. So you have to rename a file, and this depends on the web server you use. So I'm using here Apache, and it is about these URLs. When I go to About Us, for example, I see here index PHP about us, and I don't want to have this index PHP here. And you see it is already search friendly. If I switch that off, it would look like this. Let's have a look. It would look like this. So this is option com content and the view article, the ID, and these kind of things. So it is much better when you say, well, yes, do it search friendly. But as I said, there is still this. Oops, where is it? There is still here. So it looks much better, but there is still this index PHP. And to avoid this, you can check here the URL rewriting. Say save. And if we do this, this will work. But when I go to About Us, it will crash because it don't knows about it. So we have to change a file, the htaccess file, and when I enter this htaccess file here, I'm running into problem. Oops. I just want to edit it. What's the problem here? Okay, now. So when I say, well, you should be like this, .htaccess, then my wonderful Mac says, no, that's not possible. So we need another We can do this at the terminal, or the easier solution is to have a file, an FTP program. So I use here FileZilla, and when I go into this htdocs, I have the J24EN, and here is my htaccess, and here I can say, okay, I want to have a dot here. Voila, then we have a dot here, and then it works. So then we have the URL without this index PHP. Okay, and then you can say, well, this is nice, but I want to have a suffix, an HTML behind my about. So then it would look like this. So you have an about us.html, and people can think, oh, well, it's an HTML page. So it depends on what you want to achieve, but you can do a lot with these little things here. And this is also new in 2.5. You have now Unicode aliases for different languages, and you can include a site name in page titles. So let's say I want to have it before the website title. And at the moment, when I'm at the About Us page, it is just About Us here. And when I reload it, it looks like this. So I have here Joomla 2.5 and About Us. And I can change that behavior when I say I want to have it after. Then, hopefully it works now. Yeah, then it looks like this. So then we have the About Us before. Okay, so now I have to put my browser back. So these kind of configurations are here in this global administration. There's a cookie domain. This is helpful if you have subdomains and want to store the cookie central so that you don't have to log in twice. Here are system parameters. So for example, here's a log folder, Joomla logs errors. So you can have a look here. Where is it? Here is the log folder. Here's, for example, an upload error, and something went wrong. Here, April 6, 12:31. I don't know what. But if, here you see, for example, this is Joomla platform 11.4. So it is the version from 2011, the fourth quarter. Yeah, this is more developer centric, but nice to know that it exists. So here's the help server. You can choose between different help servers, but I think it makes no sense at the moment. There's only one. And this is interesting. Here is the debug system. It's also interesting for developers, not for users, but I think it is good to see that it exists. So when I switch this on and click on save, and for example, we have a look at that page here, then you see all the translatable static text character strings with these two asterisks here. For example, font size is a static text string, so you can translate it. But for example, contact is not a static text string, it is a menu item. So it is not translatable via the static translation system. Or here, the content about us, this is content. But this here, for example, you are here, is static. Home is not static. So we come later to this when we have the multilingual thing. And below you have now a lot of information about your Joomla website. For example, the database queries or the memory usage, or what do we have now? Untranslated strings, language files loaded. So these are the language files who are responsible for that page. So these little things are very interesting if you develop for Joomla. If not, you can forget it. And it's the same with the cache settings and the session lifetime. So maybe the session lifetime is interesting because it is an auto login. If you are logged in, it takes 15 minutes and then Joomla will automatically log off the user. And then you have here a tab for the different servers. So there is, for example, the FTP server, which we not filled out in the installation, but if the PHP save mode is active, you can fill it out later on. Here is the path for the temp folder, whether you want to use a compression and these kind of things. This is nice Force SSL. So you can say, yes, I want to have only the administration interface or the whole website only accessible via SSL. So it's more secure, but then you have to buy a certificate. This is the base server time zone. Here are the database settings. So this is your possibility to commit suicide. If you change the database name, it is not possible anymore to access it. Then you can only you can only change that in the configuration PHP. So if you do things like this, you can change the settings here too. But this is the better place. And here are the mail settings. So usually you use the PHP mailing system or a send mail. But for example, me here, I'm on localhost. I could use SMTP and then I could use my Yahoo or my Gmail account for sending mails. Here are permissions. This is also a thing not for beginners. So you can you can configure here the way that an author is allowed to do things, but leave that for the next book. And here are text filters. So this is the same thing. So you can filter for parts in the text like iframes or markups. So it's a security thing against web attacks. But all these configurations can be useful, can be also dangerous if you have no idea what you are doing. Yeah, so this was our little way around in the configuration.